Hello there and welcome back to another video, this time in the old surroundings of my kitchen. Why am I in my kitchen recording this? Because there's a wasp where I normally do my recording in that room and I'm not fighting it. I'm just not having a fight with that wasp. Honestly, it looked like it was the size of a shotgun pellet. Like, no, I'm not ready for that. I have a big fear of insects and everything like that, but wasps pretty much top of that list, and this is someone, as a kid I used to live in Australia, but hey, that's all by the by. I should be used to this sort of stuff, but I'm not, and I'm not ashamed of that either. Anyway, hope you're doing very, very well on this day, which is Friday. I wanted to go through this article, which kind of combines a couple of elements of different articles as well, but it brings it all into one and sort of talk about it. I can't put it on the screen because yet. Anyway, I might be able to do it later if I get time to edit, but if not, it's just going to be me talking through it. But the headline of it is: big UEFA decision provides boost to Liverpool title hopes. The subtitle to it is: the European body has handed down a ruling that provides a route to ending the domestic campaign. Now, straight away, this has already got Arsenal and United fans' backs up massively, right? Because they've had the carrot on the end of the stick. They've the carrot right there, just dangling right in front of them. All they've got to do is just sort of chase. They don't even have to do anything. They just have to sit and just wait and just be like, "Come on, give us Champions League, please. Come on, just bring it to us. Come on, we don't deserve it, but bring it to us." That was pretty much the attitude of Arsenal fans. Is like, yeah, we're going to get in the Champions League. We've done poorly this season, but we're going to get in there, and the likes of Leicester won't, and Wolves won't get Europa League and stuff like that, or whatever. So now that this solution seems to have been brought about, it actually impacts negatively on Manchester United and Arsenal fans. I mean, what can you say? Let's go into it. I'm going to cut out parts of this article just in case it's like going on a little bit too much. Europe's governing football body, UEFA, has stepped in to assist, ruling Thursday that the Champions League and Europa League qualification can be decided without another ball being kicked. Each footballing nation will be left to decide which clubs would be eligible for next year's competitions, as long as the procedure is based on sporting merit in the 2019-2020 domestic competitions, according to a statement. That is also what I said yesterday in a video that I did. Do feel free to check that one out. That was all about talking about the UEFA coefficient as well. Do feel free to look at that one. It goes into this sort of stuff in a little bit more depth. Now, obviously, like any of us, and including me, even though this seems to give us a bit more of a solidity in the fact that Liverpool are more likely to, get that title, I would still prefer us to be able to play out the remaining matches, which is what UEFA have been saying as well. They want, if you can, whenever it is safe and healthy to do so, if you can finish your games in your domestic season, that would be the best way to go. And I would absolutely love us to be able to go out there, compete, and do it on actual, like, finishing the rest of the 9 games of the season, and then no one can question it. People will still question it right now, even though we're 25 points ahead. If we were only like 3, 4, 5 points ahead at this point, I wouldn't even be saying give Liverpool the title. I wouldn't, because you'd have to find a way of finishing the season, like, either competitively or whatever. You couldn't just hand Liverpool the title if it's 3, 4, 5 points. It's 25 points. 25 points we're ahead. I'm really not sure that people are grasping. Yeah, Man City have got a game in hand, whatever, or they might have. I can't remember, but I don't think people are really grasping like how far we are ahead. I really don't, and I think it's going to take a monumental effort. For one, we would have to have the most catastrophic last 9 games of the season, and Man City would have to put on like a 10-game winning streak to even, to catch us. They really would. They'd have to win at least 8. They would have to win 8 games out of their last 10, and we would have to lose a good majority of ours to be caught. I'm not entirely sure whether they would do that. They are certainly capable of it. I will give them that, but I'm not saying that they would. Now, it says here, the decision is a boon for league leaders Liverpool and should put paid domestic talk of completely voiding the season. Now, we have racked up a points per game of 2.83, which it shouldn't surprise anyone that that is our points per game. We've won 27, drawn 1, lost 1. Our points per game is astronomically higher than even like Manchester City in second. Their points per game is 2.04. So our points per game is absolutely far and beyond anyone else's, and rightly so because of how we've done this season. There are some big clubs who would miss out on the Champions League places were this points average method used, including Man United. Man United are only 3 points behind Chelsea at the moment, but still, it's basing it on what you've done so far, right up to 28 or 29th games, and then going off your points points per game average to finish off the season. It would kind of make sense that it would be Man United that miss out. Arsenal, of course, would miss out. Who had been surging up the table prior to the suspension of play. I wouldn't say they were surging up the table. They had literally gone from like 13th, 12th to 9th. You know, they were making some progress, but they're still 8 points behind 4th place. So they would still be some way behind Man United as well, who were in 5th place. They'd still have a lot of ground to still make up, and you wouldn't be sure or confident because they would still have to play, I think, the likes of Manchester City. They would still have us to play as well. I'm not entirely sure that whether Arsenal would bridge that gap, but you could never know. And in addition, obviously, Tottenham would miss out on European qualification entirely because of how poorly their season has gone. Smaller clubs such as Leicester and Sheffield, currently set for Champions League and Europa League, would come out as obviously winners, no longer having to worry about outlasting better resourced clubs in the running, and it would be the right reward for the likes of Leicester, Sheffield. Wolves as well, I imagine, would also get a Europa League spot. And these guys, Leicester, Sheffield, Wolves, they fully deserve to be rewarded for where they are in the season right now. I truly feel that you cannot wrong Leicester, Sheffield, Wolves. Sheffield and Wolves especially, and Sheffield, for me, out of the lot, deserve their spot. They deserve their chance at the Europa League in the next season, whenever that season happens, because Sheffield have come into this season. They didn't have the investment that Wolves did prior to coming to the Premier League. So Wolves, before they came to the Premier League, they had a lot of investment in the Championship, and blazed the Championship, came into the Premier League, did a really great job being in the Premier League as well. But Sheffield have been absolutely brilliant, and they have not changed their style of play. They didn't get that they haven't invested that heavily like Wolves did in the Championship. And I would say even while Sheffield have been in the Premier League, they haven't invested as heavily as Wolves did in the Championship. And yet Sheffield have been they've been a wonderful team to watch, a nightmare to play against. Like, they are a brilliant team to watch, and they play some really good football. They stick to their principles. They stick to what they've done over the last couple of years in the Championship and all that. They've been fantastic. Leicester have been brilliant this season. They dropped off a little bit over Christmas time, but they've been absolutely brilliant under Brendan Rodgers. They deserve their chance in the Champions League. And Wolves, as well, as I've said, they definitely deserve their chance. And I think they're still in the Europa League right now as well. I think they've knocked out a team, I can't remember who it was, but they were like comprehensively like 6-1 or 6-3 or something like that. I can't remember. They're still in the Europa League at the moment. Now, what the article ends with is, regardless of how they fight it out further down the table, the has been set for how the season will end, which should comfort Liverpool supporters. It should mean that the maiden Premier League crown shouldn't be taken away from us. Thus decrees UEFA. The only question remaining now is how to put together a championship parade over Zoom. Alright, fair play, I didn't read that. But yeah, like, there seems to be a very distinct way of saying we will finish these seasons however way we can and avoid voiding and nulling the seasons, which is absolutely grinding the backs of Arsenal fans and Man United fans in particular. Two teams, and I said in my video yesterday, two teams who have performed poorly this season. And even though Man United, they've got themselves into 5th position and all that sort of stuff, I think they're still in the Europa League as well. But even so, they will say we could have been in the Champions League spot. You could still be in a Champions League spot right now because of Man City and their ban, and whether their ban's upheld, whatever. Arsenal fans, in my opinion, have absolutely no way of arguing that they should have a Champions League spot. They pretty much don't have a way of arguing that they should get a Europa League spot. They've been knocked out of the Europa League by Olympiacos, and they were comprehensively outplayed for most of that game. And then all of a sudden, because of these UEFA coefficient rankings, they're like, oh, we can get in the Champions League, spot on, money, yeah, we can go and sign loads of players, all this lot, and obviously Arsenal fans got really excited and were like, yes, we're going to go out, we're going to compete again, we're going to be in the Champions League, because, for the 20 years that, apart from 2006, they were competitive in that season for sure. But Arsenal have not been competitive in the Champions League, and they were embarrassed a lot by Bayern Munich repeatedly as well. And then in the Europa League, they've just not been able to do it. They got to the semi-final, they've gotten to a final, got embarrassed in both the semi-final when they got knocked out there, got embarrassed in a final in Baku by Chelsea, who were already in Champions League spots after the season had ended, but hey, that's by the by. And now they've been knocked out by Olympiacos. They do not go any further in European competition right now. They don't deserve it, really. They've had a very poor season. They've had 3 different managers this season, but Arsenal fans cannot argue that they deserve a Champions League spot. They can barely argue that that they deserve a Europa League spot, in my opinion, anyway. And maybe that seems like I'm coming off a little bit angry towards Arsenal fans, but the barrage of abuse that Liverpool fans get from Arsenal fans about the Premier League title and all that sort of stuff, and saying that it's an unjust title, it would be tainted, it wouldn't be right for the moral of sport if Liverpool are awarded the title. But then as soon as the Champions League gleams up and they're like, oh yeah, no, we'll have that. Yeah, we deserve it. We do deserve it. Don't give Liverpool the title, though. Don't give them the title. We deserve the Champions League, even though we're 9th. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do like it and subscribe if you're new around here. Please get your comments and thoughts in the comments box below. Hopefully, if I can get rid of that wasp out of my room, I'll be back to recording normally from next week. But I'm not holding out any hope. I'm not fighting that thing. Thank you once again, and I'll catch you later.